Good morning and almost good afternoon to all of you in the big wide world of social media, whether you're watching us in this episode from afar or whether you are very local to myself. My name is Bill and my co-host, Anne-Marie. How are you, Anne-Marie?
I'm awesome. How's it going?
Yeah. I heard you before we started. I heard you. I get it as a dog parent, trying to make sure your dog was ready to go for whatever he is ready for today.
Yes. He's in the backyard with a treat and a toy, and I'm hoping that will hold off any barking, but you never know.
Well, hey, uh, a dog barking—that's part of their DNA. But it's a great day for him to be out there today.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, perfect. So, for all of you watching us in this episode today, you are here in case you're wondering, hey, why did I show up here? You are here in this episode of Real Living in Naperville. So, Anne Marie, let's start our conversation off today with the most important information from you as a real estate broker, and that is share with us current trends and a market update.
Well, I have good and bad news. Good news is if you are ready to sell, your house is going to fly off the shelf within 5 days on average.
Yeah.
So houses are selling fast. If you're buying, you better get your butt moving because the house prices are going up. Oh, you can't even see me. They're going up. So don't think like, oh, I'm going to hold out. There's going to be a recession. There's going to be a crash, blah, 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 blah. Get ready to make some moves and be serious about what you're considering.
Yeah, I I agree with you. Um, it's kind of funny because, stating the obvious here, it's kind of funny. The initial perception, when I say initial from almost 2 years ago, the initial perception was with the cost of borrowing money, interest rates allowing to free climb upwards, it would slow everything down.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of counterintuitive. I see it the same way you do. There's still enough buyer demand, and right now it's still a seller's market. So spot on. Yeah, that's the good news and the bad news.
There's still bidding wars. So if you're selling, you're in a great spot. If you're buying, you better have 3 houses you like, and you may be getting one of them.
Yeah. Do you see this momentum cutting across all price points or in a certain price point within Naperville?
Honestly, it is all price points because if you have to move, you have to move.
Right,
What if you're moving from Philadelphia and you got this fantastic job at Abbott? You're moving. So
right.
you don't have a choice and you need to jump on it as fast as you can.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And because I know Naperville enough, you know it better since you live there and you own property there. Spot on. If you are a corporate employee, whether you are taking on a new assignment with NICOR, for example, biggest employer, one of the biggest employers, or if you are a new physician or a nurse
Mm-hmm.
that's starting, your next chapter at Edward Hospital, also there in Elmhurst. Sorry, also there in Naperville. Yeah, right on. You gotta start when you start, when your employment contracts requires you to be there, and you
Exactly.
also need to live close enough because who wants to drive a long distance to go to work?
Absolutely. And you don't want to live in your car. So it's professional.
Right on. So let me move to the second conversation point between the two of us, Anne Marie. I know this about your other skill set, and that is driving, growing, and delivering value from your professional organization
Mhm.
business. This time of the year, I'm going to speak from my own experience. This time of the year, what do all of us get motivated to do and want to do? We want to spend the time to organize and clean either both our basement and our garage. Now, why do I say this? It's because recently, every year here in Elmhurst, where I live, we have what we call spring cleanup. It's where everyone gets to move their stuff, that's the polite word, to the curbside, and our local refuse provider picks everything up. It's amazing what people push out to the curb. Do you agree?
I'm almost embarrassed for them sometimes. I'm proud of them because they're getting it done, but you just kind of look and go, oh boy.
Yeah, right. So with that as kind of the backdrop, and I'm sharing my own personal experience right now. Did I clean out my basement? A little bit. Did I get rid of stuff from my garage? This year I didn't have to do as much. Why? Because I did it the previous 2 years, right? Okay. All right. So with your other business as a professional organizer, would you care to share a couple of organization hacks to motivate the rest of us watching who might share the same goal and project in front of them?
Absolutely. In fact, I just left a job this morning. I was in Westmont. I started my girls off and just left, told them I'd come back later. I'm like, I've got a podcast, girls. So they're like, have fun. What we were working on basement, and the first thing, the client said, well, what do we need to do first? I said, first, I need to know what you're getting rid of.
Right.
They said you have 2 college children moving back home permanently until they find another residence or a job or whatever.
Right.
A lot of this, there were some toys. They're in their 20s. Okay. We don't need toys. Now, granted, she was keeping like a nice train set and one other thing for grandkids. That's fine. I did the exact same thing, but we don't need an overabundance of crazy toys. So making sure everything is binned, labeled, and just get rid of things you don't need. She was going through some decorating things. She goes, man, this stuff is old, and these rugs, I don't want them. Get rid of stuff quickly. When you are packing up something, say you're packing up Christmas like we did a few months ago, and you find stuff, you're like, ugh, that does not speak to me. It is gross or it's broken. Get rid of it then. Don't throw it in your basement to do it again or to pay me to do it. You can do it on your own. If it's too late, then give me a call and I'll help you out. So the one thing is get rid of things you do not need, love, and use. That is the most simple thing I can tell you in every room in your house.
Yeah, that's very true. Bottom line, with your organization business, what I think I know is, you're coming in as a professional to hold me accountable, right?
Yes.
To say, Bill, I can help you. Some of it you should, of course, DIY. And if you're way too busy or you have too many emotional attachments, then I can take it over. But at the same, regardless, you still have to hold me accountable to the outcome that I want.
Right. And already this morning we had 2 carfuls of stuff to donate. She's like, yes, I do not use this. For instance, she had a standing desk. She's like, I used this during COVID. I'm never going to use this again. Well, let's get rid of that. That doesn't work for you anymore. You can always bless someone else with something that is going to make a world of difference in their life. Like I always say, when people are getting rid of old suits and blazers, those clothes are worth $40,000 or more to someone because they could have an interview and wow, what an impact you could make. You're getting rid of a suit you've had for 10 years, but dang, you gave someone $40,000. That is amazing. That makes you feel so good. How can you not want to do that?
Yeah, I love that story. As a matter of fact, funny thing you say this, I am actually going through my closet and I am choosing to give away some of my neckties.
Okay.
Why? Because fast forward to right now, I'm not.
We don't need enough.
Right.
Wedding. That's about it, buddy. Right?
Exactly. So, I'm committing myself to that as well. And the old cliche is, one family's trash is another family's treasure.
Sure can be. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So thank you for sharing that motivation and organization hack. The next thing I want to ask you is this, putting you on the spot, right? You can share from personal experience, maybe a recent client experience, and that is this: when you are representing a seller, how do you, as the seller's broker, how do you go about helping the seller choose the right buyer, the right offer? What's your advice?
So number one, I personally make sure whoever thinks they are interested has a legitimate, perfect banking record through their mortgage broker. I want to make sure they didn't go on God knows what mortgage.com and get themselves qualified.
Absolutely.
They're just not. So we make sure that they are 100% qualified. That knocks out, maybe 1 out of 3 people. I'll be like, no, that's not going to work for us.
Right.
And then we go through and we say, okay, who's looking the best? Are there any contingencies? Do they have a contingency? Do they have cash? What are we looking at? It's just looking at the whole picture. If someone is moving from out of state, they're more desperate for a house than someone's moving, unilaterally in the town or in the county.
Right.
So they're more serious. It just depends on the whole picture, really. But number one, being 100% qualified makes all the difference in the world.
Spot on. And this next part of what I'm about to share with you and all of you watching us today is this: very self-serving, full disclosure. My statement is this: not all lenders are created equal. And therefore, not all pre-approvals are created equal. So, as if I'm your seller client, Anne-Marie, that is spot on, right? I rely on you to be my eyes and ears as to which is the right buyer to help me move to my next chapter, and of course, give me enough flexibility to be able to do that. So,
excuse me 2 seconds. I'm not plugged in, and I'm gonna die. Hold on.
Oh, okay, cool. You need juice.
It really helps when it's plugged in. It really it does wonder.
Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does. So thank you for sharing your feedback with us as to how, when you represent a seller, how you go about choosing the best, the right buyer, and the right offer. And as part of our conversation today, a little surprise for you. I have invited a special guest to join us. Our special guest, let me introduce him. Let me do my best to try to introduce him. Our special guest is an individual who faces risk all day long. He faces risk when he is
like a superhero.
helping. Yeah, he's our superhero. He faces risk when he's helping citizens deal with issues at home. And then on the other side of his business, he also faces risk. He actually helps people manage risk. All right. So, all of that being said, as a little teaser, Anthony, welcome to our episode today.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Did I describe you correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I have my hands in multiple different areas that involve risk.
Very true. That's what I perceived when I met you in person about was it about 2 weeks ago over a casual lunch in Oak Brook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So talk to us about the risk that you help households manage.
So I'm an independent insurance agent with 𝙍𝙖𝙦 𝙍𝙖𝙥𝙚𝙧𝙫𝙀. We're a large insurance brokerage firm, and I help a lot of people with their insurance for their homes and their cars, everything that affects a person in their personal life. So I mean, that's everything from your home to your cars to umbrella policies, RVs, snowmobiles. And that's just one aspect of the insurance world that I handle. So just keep it short and sweet.
Yeah. Now, question for you, because what I perceive is your affiliation with Robertson Ryan. You're a non-captive insurance provider. Why is it so important, Anthony, to review your coverage and your policies each and every year? Can you speak to that?
Sure. So I guess the first thing I would address is for people that aren't aware what the words captive versus non-captive are in
Ah,
the insurance marketplace. And that is that at the end of the day, just like you're talking about mortgage companies, they're not all created equal. Not all insurance companies are created equal. And when I talk to a client for the first time, the way I describe it is that insurance world there's two different aspects. You have Apple and you have Google, both which get the same job done, both
right.
which accomplish the same goal, and both which are really good products. But Apple is its own thing in its own environment where you can only operate within that certain sphere. And then you have Google, which opens it up to, they have their Google phones, you have Samsung and multiple other platforms or companies that are allowed to use the Android software. So insurance is the same way. So you'll have captive agencies or State Farm, Allstate, American Family, Country. A lot of those companies, they're like Apple, where they have their one product, their one system, and if you use them, that's really the only insurance product that you're going to get. Independent agencies, they're more kind of like Google, whereas we're not tied to one specific company or one specific product. We work with multiple insurance companies and multiple insurance carriers to be able to provide insurance that fits the needs of the client. That being said, just like Apple and Google, I can't write insurance through State Farm or Allstate or American Family because they're captive and kept alone. So when talking with people, that's an important thing to understand. Not that those companies are bad or there's something wrong with them. Lots of people like Apple, so lots of people like State Farm and Country and American Family and Allstate.
Right.
So it's about finding what is best and who you feel comfortable with and what agent you feel is going to protect your needs. So
True.
that's the first thing, in making that difference. When you follow up to the second half of your question, you're like, well, why should you review your insurance every year? Well, the first thing, and COVID has made this really apparent, and a not so pleasant conversation that we have almost daily basis, and that's due to inflation. Inflation was 8% last year.
Hmm.
You had the supply chain short. You have cost of labor has gone up a ton. Cost of materials have actually started to flatten out and come down a little bit. But during the COVID times, the cost of goods were insane. Lumber was 3 times the price. Well, what that happens is that means that the cost to rebuild your home increases. The cost to buy a car increases. And
Right.
so with that, especially on homeowners insurance, if your home is going to cost $50,000 to $80,000 more to rebuild now than what it did 4 years ago, depending on what your insurance is at, your home possibly could be underinsured. So you want to make sure that that is properly protected if you have a major loss, like tornadoes or fires, that your home is going to get rebuilt. The negative side of that conversation is as you buy more insurance, the cost of the insurance goes up. So
Yeah.
that is one of the bad things. And one of the other things that you want to check with, and reason why it's important to follow up with your insurance, is life changes.
Yeah.
Kids, having kids going to college, teen drivers starting to drive.
Mhm.
That's probably one of the biggest life changes on insurance.
Yeah.
Could be that. There's many things that happen that changes life. And so having somebody sit and review everything and make sure what you have, it's valuable. Same thing, like if you take a job or you start doing something where your value is increased, you may need to start increasing coverages and putting umbrella policies in place and things like that, because the more you have, the more liable that people might be interested in coming after you if you cause damage
Yeah.
in your life.
Um,
So
yeah.
uh,
So So as we discussed earlier, a fictitious person, some persona, a physician coming into Naperville to take on a new contract assignment at Edwards Hospital, as he, she, or they, their value increases, their income increases, their life, adjusts going forward. That's why it's also always important to have, like an annual review, annual checkup with someone like you.
Right. I mean, the whole idea of insurance is you don't want to use it. You don't want to have to use it.
Sure.
But the idea is as you accumulate more wealth, and even for those that aren't doctors or lawyers, but you have a 401k built up and you have a retirement account that's starting to be there. The idea is you need to use that insurance in wise manners to protect that wealth and that asset. Because if the biggest risk is driving a car, you get into a car accident and you don't have enough insurance and you do significantly bodily harm to somebody. Not only do you have the potential of that individual suing you, because after your insurance company stops paying out, you're still responsible. So that person can sue you. Their health insurance company could come after you. Their auto insurance company could come after you. And the idea is that you need to use the insurance, which costs a minimal amount, to protect the assets that you have.
Yeah.
And then I had one other point why it's important to shop, especially from an independent agent's perspective.
Okay.
And that is that insurance, they're for-profit companies. It's a marketplace.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Companies are trying to compete. So one of the things, especially with the cost of inflation and the rise of everything that's going on, and everybody's home insurance is going up and it's all over the place, insurance companies are always competing to try to attract new clients, to new people. Some companies are raising rates in certain areas if they get bunches of hailstorms or whatever it is, because of their losses. So besides protecting yourself and making sure that your coverage is adequate, you want to shop your insurance. We generally recommend every 3 to 5 years. And I'll say the reasons for that for another day, but you want to shop, at least every 3 to 5 years, have your insurance shopped around, because you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the marketplace, because you can get the same adequate coverage from company B as company A, because they're trying to be more competitive in the area.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that insight with us. How can people who are watching today's episode find you? Is it as easily as just doing a Google search of your name and then finding you on social media?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook profile. I'm also on LinkedIn, and then we have a webpage profile. So if you just Google my name, Anthony Talbot, Robertson Ryan and Associates, or Robertson Ryan, you easily can find me on a Google search, and give me a call, shoot me an email, and then I can respond and help you with whatever your questions are.
All right, there you have it, ladies, gentlemen. Whether you're watching from afar or very local to all three of us, you just heard it from Anthony Talbot as to how he can help you if you're looking for a change in your provider. And as we wrap up today's episode, should you need to engage and reach out to either Anne-Marie and or myself to have a consultation, to ask questions as to how we can help you, it's real simple. Just simply scan the QR codes that you see here. And for today, ladies, gentlemen, Anthony and Anne-Marie, thank you for sharing your time with us. Don't forget, if this information in today's episode is of interest and of value to you, give us your feedback. It's as simple as dropping an emoji, your like, something humorous, as well as a comment as well. We look forward to hearing from you. And until we see each other again in the next episode, that's it for now. Anthony, Anne-Marie, have a great Thursday.
You too.
Take care, everybody.